Yes. Yeah, we're going to go to consent, but I'm going to. Um, so in the interest of time, please, board members, if you already know your vote, there's no need to do discovery. If you already know, the only reason to do discovery at this point would be if it matters for your vote. So please let's be judicious in our questioning for the consent calendar. Also, Jerry is working on a wonderful timer so that we can govern ourselves. As it gets later, I've noticed that our comments get longer. Uh-huh. Yeah, so I know, but constant improvement, right? Continuous improvement, that's what we're about. So we're going to move to the consent calendar. Chair? No. I mean, I can. Do you want me to? I can.
If you can.
All right. All right. You got some emails. Okay. All right. So we are doing the consent calendar now. We are going to start out with item 15.3. Do we have a motion?
Yeah. I've never done this.
Yeah. Yeah. There's someone just has to make the motion for all of it.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Thank you. The motion's been made to approve the consent calendar. Is there a second? And now that the motion's been made and second, is there any items that members would like pulled? Members that want things pulled. Member Lear?
Yes, I'd like to pull item 9.
Item 9.
9.
Are you making the list? Okay. Next, Member Wood?
I'd like to remove number 10.
Number 10 has been removed. I see no other items to remove, so we will, can we make a motion to approve the remainder of the can't we just? Oh, the motion's been made. Yeah, let's vote on, are you pulling something? Yeah, we can.
I wanted to pull number 3 and number 4.
Number 3 and number 4 have been pulled. Member Wood, are you pulling something else?
No, this is just a clarification. This was number 10 in the within 15.3. Is that correct? Okay. Within the contract.
Within the contract.
Yes. I didn't clarify that.
You pulled one contract.
One contract.
Just great. That just got shorter.
Actually, I only want to pull number, which one was it? Number 4.
Number 4, just number, not 3. Okay. Thank you. Member Hymas?
I'm ready to make a motion.
The motion's been made. We are voting on the remainder of the consent
Okay, so
calendar.
we don't have to, okay. Perfect.
Motion's already on the floor. So let's start. Okay. Member Wood?
Yes.
Member Straight?
Yes.
Approve the remainder. Member Real? Oh, I was supposed to tell her we're back. I'll move on. You text her. Member Norton?
Yes.
Member Lear?
Yes.
Member Carey?
Yes.
Member Hymas?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Green? Member Earl?
Yes.
Member Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Member
And
Klein?
No.
You don't want to, okay. Member Booth?
Member Green is a yes.
Member Green is a yes? Okay. Member Booth?
Yes, for Member Booth.
Okay. Member Bogus?
Sorry.
No. Okay. And that was, and Member Real, are you on yet? Okay. So that would be a vote of 11? 11 yeses. 2 noes and absent people. Okay. All right, so the rest of the consent calendar is finished. We will now return to
3 is first. No, 4 is first.
4 is first.
Yep. I'll go down.
Who?
And that
can-
was Board Member Klein.
And that was Board Member Klein? Okay. You just want to go ahead and vote? You don't
Okay.
need any, okay. Let's let people know which one it is, so can you read out?
Yeah,
number 4?
it's a plan and process for communication concerning the trust, school trust, councils, and school land trust program. Oh, so sorry, I'm on the wrong. My apologies, excuse me, just 1 second.
The meeting minutes.
Number 4 would be the approval of meeting minutes. So
Okay.
the motion is to approve the meeting minutes.
Okay.
Any second?
What's that?
What?
No, no.
Okay. Guess that's the motion.
Okay. Any questions? We will.
We have to because there is an objection. Or
Oh.
not an objection. You're right, you're voting no.
She's gonna vote no, so.
Oh.
Oh, I see what you did. Okay.
Well, to ask it if there's any
Thank you.
objection.
Okay, are there any objections to item number 4, the meeting minutes? Hearing none, those minutes have passed. Next item,
9?
can you read it, please?
Yes.
Hold on. Did
Did you
you,
go to the one Leanne pulled, because Cindy, I think
Yeah.
she's coming back if we, I'm sure this will take at least an hour, so that means we can.
okay,
Cindy will
so
be back before-
Contracts, and I think it's which contract is it? Number 3? Number 10. I don't, which one's number 10?
Professional outreach programs.
No.
that's item 10. She wants contract 10.
Can you tell us the title of it? I'm sorry, it doesn't have it labeled for me.
Thing.
Okay.
And that's the one you pulled?
Yes.
Okay, and Cindy needs to be on for the other item.
Do you have questions then? Okay.
I would be helpful.
Okay, excellent. Did you want to speak to that?
Yes, please.
Okay,
So I did do some follow-up ahead of time and got amazing. I want to thank Adam for all, I had like 7 contracts with questions and they were so thorough. But this one I do just have some kind of concerns with. It's $4 million. And it appears to me that the $4 million is going to United Way, step-by-step learning and ed direction. And I'm wondering, and it's supposed to go to 250 schools. And I'm just wondering, where does it get to the school? Like, it seemed like a lot of meetings, a lot of training, but where, even in that's $16,000 per school, if you were to divide it out with $4 million, where does it actually, what are we passing that's going to actually impact
Okay.
schools and families at the end? And I didn't get that from all the great answers I got. I still didn't feel like, wow, this is a great use of our funds to impact families in the science of reading.
I'm actually glad you brought that up. I had similar thoughts. I believe that we have 2. If either one of you would please hit your button so that I could recognize you. Oh, hold on, Susie. There you are. You're live.
Sorry, got excited. Susie Estrada, Family and Community Engagement Specialist. And I'm sorry, what was the question? I was
I think an overview of this program, and then a specific question about reach to the school. What is this doing, and how does it reach the school?
Yeah, so we're contracting with, so MGT is the larger umbrella company. As of that, they've absorbed the step-by-step learning. So United Way is who they would be subcontracting with. So those are the 3 organizations that we would be working with. So it's Ed Direction, Step-by-Step Learning, and then United Way of Salt Lake. So with that, we're getting 3 different scopes of expertise. So United Way of Salt Lake is giving us the community engagement expertise, Step-by-Step Learning, the science of reading expertise, and then Ed Direction is giving us the systems. So with that, working together with USVE to help schools build their literacy practices. So professional development, to really bring in families and community partnerships. So that way we can reach our goal of 70% K through 3 on reading grade level by 2027. So the way that it's reaching directly to the schools is through that coaching, through that professional development, allocation of, you can think of it as like community asset mapping. So what do they already have? What can they leverage? And then really starting to think about it on a systemic level with the schools. So they would be opting in for this as a resource if they are not reaching their goals for that K through 3 literacy.
And if I can add, you,
She giveth and she taketh away.
that's okay. Thank you. So in Senate Bill 127, it has the board shall contract with one or more organizations that have expertise in coordinating community resources to provide training and coaching to community, school, and parent engagement coordinators, and to provide necessary supports for parent, community, and business engagement, including services and coordination support. So that is what the board, it's required to contract with someone if this is not the right someone, but that is the intent of the requirement.
Thank you. So the very much requirement was just a professional development piece. So there's no extra supports for the schools to actually implement. And so they'll get the training, and then when they take it back, it may or may, because I was at a leadership conference with DSD yesterday and was talking to some principals just to kind of reach out, especially Title I schools. And they were like, well, we have a parent coordinator in name only. We don't really have one. And so it just seems like, okay, we can bring y'all in the room, we can train you, but then what?
For these schools, they have to have a family compact if you're Title I and how they're going to engage their family. So they are required to do something. This is meant to give them some supports and resources of what they could offer. So how do you help a parent to better understand how to engage your kid in things that are going to develop their literacy skills? For example, oral language has such power that even just talking with your child and playing games with your child can advance literacy skills in a way that people don't really connect. So it's helping them to think, when we have family engagement nights, which they all provide in a Title I school, what types of family engagement things can we do? So it should be able to be turned around, and here are the particular activities and things that you can do in those family engagement nights that would then get to the actual community, rather than just being a training opportunity to deepen someone's expertise. It's meant to be, here's resources and supports to support your community and the families in your community in reading.
Okay, so just final, so those, they will be trained, they will.
No. Push it again, push it again.
Push it again.
That's good. I'm good. I'll let others ask. So thank you for your time.
No, there's
I'm
just,
red. Do you want me to go?
Okay. So to take this down to a granular level, we've got teachers, administrators being trained, but on this objective number 3, this company that we are engaging right here will be working directly with parents, possibly providing them with resources on what they can then take home and work with their kids at home, be it vocabulary.
So they would be working, so it's a 5-year cohort model. So they would be working with the schools, LEAs that opt in, to help them. First, they would do a needs assessment, again, asset mapping. What do we already have? What can we leverage? And then from there, helping LEAs build based on their goals, because our LEAs do vary in their population and their needs and what they have, to leverage that. So they would be taking what they already have, elevating that. So for example, some schools do have a family and community engagement position, a formal position. Granite School Districts is an example of that, and others don't. They've added it on to a teacher position or to a school social worker, and so it's a name only, and so it's not as formalized. So it would be helping them build what they already have, extending it so that it is high quality family and community engagement. It's something that we're seeing across the state where some people or some districts do have that and others don't. So they're all starting at different places. So with that cohort model, again, it is a lot of money.
Directly serving parents or
They would be working directly with the LEAs that would then be working with the parents.
they won't serve parents.
Yeah, thank you.
Member Bogus.
Thank you, ma'am. Has a motion been made on this? I would move that we reject this contract and send it back due to the vendor. And if I have a second, I would like to speak to the motion. If not, I have a comment.
We would need a second.
I
The
second
motion's
that.
been made. We now have a second. You speak to your motion.
Yes, ma'am. So my big issue here is with United Way, and the pattern that I have seen over the past many years is that our legislature overwhelmingly passes legislation that the United Way of Utah issues commentary and testimony, if you will, against. And it just seems to me that as an agency, they don't align with Utah values. And I could go into more depth, but for the purpose of brevity, I'll leave it there.
Neither one of you were responding to that? Okay. Then Member Straight.
Yes, thank you. As everyone here knows, or most people may know, big fan, big supporter of Senate Bill 127. Letters has been highly effective. It was implemented very well. It's having some positive impact. I agree with the concept here of family engagement and how we can engage families. But we're talking $800,000 a year. And I did talk to people yesterday as well, and I'm just not sure this is the right model. Well, model is probably the wrong word. I don't believe this is the way we want to go in using that $800,000 a year. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not prepared to say what I think it should look like. I don't think it'd be wise for me to try and do that right now. But I want to support this element of supporting the science of reading. I am not convinced that this is the way that I would like to see it go, my opinion.
Thank you, Member Straight. Member Klein.
I just had a question about the family engagement compact that you mentioned. Is that something that USBE requires? That's what schools use? And is it a contract? Is it legally, but is that legally binding like a contract? This is something parents are having to sign, and I worry about us obligating parents legally to be involved in what happens at the school, and then telling parents what they have to do.
So it's a family compact that's required as part of Title I schools, and they have to do it with parents. So they create it with parents in their community, and then they make a family compact for the school. It's not a contract, nobody signs anything. It's just intentions of how the families in the school will work together for their children.
So is it an opt-in, or are you saying it's required because they are at a Title I school?
It's part of being part of a Title I school.
Do they have
So
an
point- I-
option to go somewhere else
I
if they
just
don't
want
want
to
to
do
be
a point of
involved in that?
order, just so
Sorry.
that, just so we're staying on this, and then you can ask
Okay.
these questions later if you don't mind, so we can stay on the actual contract.
She just
So,
answered that last question.
I'll defer to Superintendent Dixon. She's,
Cindy? Okay. Thank you.
Superintendent Dixon seems to.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think because we put things out into the public square, just to make sure that it's clear, when we're talking about family compacts with Title I schools, it's not binding individual families to anything. It's a school-based compact. Just want to be clear about that, that if you're a Title I school, you are obligated in receiving federal dollars to work directly with families. So families, like in a general sense, co-create with the school what kind of supports they need. And then the school would provide support. So it doesn't obligate every family to participate in those supports or sign anything. So I just want to be clear that it's not individual families being obligated, but it requires schools to engage with families. So that's what we talk about when we're talking about Title I compact. And we can give you more offline. If they don't want to participate, they don't have to participate. But just want to make sure that that's clear to the public. And we'll follow up with you, Board Member Klein, if you have further questions.
Member Carey?
Thank you. A quick question. This is required by statute, is that correct? And it seems like there's support for the idea, but maybe the execution is creating some uncertainty. Are there any timelines or deadlines that we have to be aware of if we wanted more time to consider this? Thank you.
No, I mean, the bill passed last March, so we're just trying to execute all the requirements in that bill. But if the board would like to give us some guidance on what you would like us to seek, we can do another RFP and turn this around, or we can see if the vendor would modify their scope. But I think it would still need to be an RFP if we change the scope too much.
I think from my perspective, it may just be clarification of what exactly the requirement was in the statute. I don't know that I don't, when you hear about that particular piece of legislation, it's letters, 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 and Acadian, those things, the finer points of, because it was a very full bill. And I wonder if even knowing what it requires would help with that disconnect, because it started out, is it in the classroom? Is it, I think there just might be a lack of clarity on what exactly our requirement in statute was. So I think we need to start there, because I think that would maybe fill some gaps, I think.
Follow up if possible.
Go for it.
So we did one RFP, and how would you classify the response to that? Was there an abundance of vendors who were interested? Was this one where crickets, somewhere in between?
We had a few, right? we had a few, if I remember right. Adam, do you recall how many? 3. That's what I thought. A few. It means 3 in my world. So we had 3. In terms of the legislation, it says provide training and coaching to community, school, and parent engagement coordinators. That is the main role and responsibility of this contract. They are supposed to be training the parent, community, or school engagement coordinators that are in the schools.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
I think that kind of makes it a little bit more clear. Thank you. Member Hymas.
Yeah, so if this contract is rejected, what's plan B? Or was this all the plans?
Questions? It was the plan. In terms of it's rejected, I think we'd want to get with a few board members to say, what are you looking for? We would rewrite the RFP, put it back out, and in 3 to 6 months, we'd have a new contract at your review.
would it be of the same type of process, or is there something else that we could do? Would it still be, well, we're just going to find another company? And I don't know if that's the issue here, but from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like it's necessary. I mean, partly the company, but the process of training, and maybe I misunderstood, but if we don't like process of the training, is there a different way that the USBE could still fulfill the requirements in the bill without having to go through this contract of $4 million? Is there a, go ahead, sorry.
The language in the bill states the state board shall contract with one or more organizations. So you have to contract with someone for these services.
Okay, the motion that's on the table. Oh, I'm sorry. Member Wood.
I just wanted to speak to this. I will be voting against this motion. There is no, I didn't have a problem with the vendors, or it was actually understanding the process. I didn't realize that the wording to SB 127 was so clear, and all we get is the coaching, because I would love to see more families understand how to directly impact their kids in literacy. And so for me, there's this disconnect between here's a lot of money, here's coaching, and whatever happens, the coaching goes into some abyss in some schools. Some will take it and run with it, and it'll be awesome. And so I just appreciate the clarification, and thank you for your time.
Member Davis is online and has her hand raised. Member
Yes.
Davis?
Yes, thank you. Is there, it sounds like there's not this kind of vendor trifecta required in code, but does it allow for the LEA to train or the parent coordinators to be compensated for training? Is any of that allowed for in the code?
The way the code reads is just the state board shall contract with one or more organizations that have expertise coordinating community resources to provide this training and coaching. So I don't think that flexibility is there. That's my interpretation of the code.
May I follow up, Chair?
Yes, yes.
I don't know what motion's on the table. I'm trying to follow from offline, but I would just suggest we don't move this time and postpone to next time and dig a little bit deeper on it.
Okay, I will restate the motion in case you're in a space where you can hear. The motion,
I had a comment.
yeah, I'm going to come back to you. I just want her to be able to hear the motion. The board reject contract, blah, blah, blah. It's simply to reject the contract. That's what we're deliberating on now. We could take obviously a substitute motion or whatever, but that's what we're speaking to directly right now. Member Lear.
I would move to sub then.
Okay, hold on. Let's get a comment from
To
Member Lear
postpone.
and then we'll get back
Okay.
to you. Okay.
And I just wanted to say, personally, this is raising some interesting questions, but I want to kind of contradict a remark or give a different opinion to a remark that we've worked with United Way for years as a State Board of Education. And as I recall, have had nothing but really good experiences as it goes to the broader community and represents a lot of people that I work with in Salt Lake. So I personally really respect the work the United Way does and have liked working with them in the past. And I don't want this at all to reflect poorly on United Way. And it might, I'm not sure how that is part of this joint agreement, but I personally liked working with them, and the director is an old friend of mine and a fabulous person to work with in terms of community service.
Thank you. Thank you. Member Carey, please.
Thank you. I have a question perhaps for Deputy Stallings. And I'm going to pause to give her time to refocus, because last time I jumped right in. My question is, with $4 million, I would love to see this money go to our districts. And Director Thronston said that with the language we have now, that doesn't look like it's possible. my question is, are we able to go to the legislator or the sponsor of this bill and indicate, hey, we're having a rough time, a rough go of this. Would you be willing to expand this so we can include districts? One, is that appropriate? And then two, again, would it impact the timing or commitment that we have as a board to act on this? Because we do have the expertise in our districts. I don't know why we wouldn't send this money to them. Thank you.
Oh, yes, I'm under Patty Norman. I know that gets confusing. I apologize. I will answer those two questions. Number one, and I just want confirmation from Deputy Jones, or he can cut me off if I say anything incorrect. But two, I just wanted to confirm or support what was stated below. This language does state that the state board shall contract with. So we would not currently have the authority to use those funds to distribute to LEAs. And just as some, by way of background, there have been a couple of times in the past where the state board has been given money in our budget to be used by the state board, and the board wanted to send those monies or those funds to LEAs, and the fiscal analyst's office told us no, that we actually need to get the approval from the legislature to do that. To your second question, would it be appropriate for us to ask the legislature to change this language, and instead of having the board contract with a provider to use the funds, absolutely, we could make that request, and we could do a motion, something like that the board direct staff to work with the fiscal analyst's office and the legislature to change the use of funds to, instead of this project, forward those on to LEAs. And then the third implied question was on timing. What that means is likely that will not happen until probably February or March at the earliest, because it would have to be done in either a supplemental appropriations bill, and those usually happen in about February at the earliest, or in the beginning of March. And it could be as late as by July 1, depending on how they decided to make the change to how the funds could be used. So it definitely would not be done by the end of the year unless it were added to a special session of the legislature.
That would be my thinking right now. And again, unless board leadership feels that would cause some unnecessary antagonism with the legislature, I do feel that we have the expertise. We put out an RFP, did not get I don't think the abundance of response that we wanted. And again, just given the gravity of the questions at hand and the funds at issue, I would feel more comfortable them being at the with our LEAs. Thank you.
Member Davis, you are next. Did you want to make a motion, or did you have a question?
Yeah, I moved to postpone until next month while we explore some more of these options and look at the RFP.
So that would be a substitute motion. And we have a second from Member Straight. I'm going to give a second for you to get that up on the board. Okay, so what's that? I know, me too. So the substitute motion is that the board postpone action on contract 10 USBE 2400 11CT MGT of America Consulting LLC until September. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any Is there any opposition to that? Is there going to be? Um,
Oh, no.
you vote no?
Yeah.
Okay, we will have a voice vote, please. We're voting on the substitute motion. Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry.
And
I'm very sorry.
Oh,
I
no, it's
will, Member Straight, you are up first.
yes, I absolutely would like and request that, and I'm open to anything, but I would prefer that we be 100% fidelity in regards to the shall. My emphasis would not be that we necessarily put the money in the hands of the districts, but how we execute that and to what level does this vendor, under what circumstances do they operate? For example, the training is at the schools, and then they come back and they help assist you as you do this family engagement. Now, I don't think that would be that difficult because Title I schools do family engagement nights. I know that personally, and yeah, I know someone who puts those together. But nonetheless, it's how we structure it and how we can get more coaching. And when I say coaching, hands-on coaching at the schools in our LEAs. So hope that isn't too directive, but that's what's in my mind.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that was clear. Member Lear, you are up next, and then Member Wood.
And I just want to make sure in asking the legislature for something, if that's what we end up doing, or I just don't want to lose this money. I want to make sure that because it seems like it's this fiscal year's money, is it going to get swept? Is it going to are we going to lose it? Because I feel like even an imperfect family engagement project is better than not having the opportunity at all. So I want to make sure, and maybe that's not a question we can know today, but in this reconfiguration, rethinking of this, I want to make sure we don't lose that money or give up the opportunity to make activities available and in working with whomever we have to work with.
Deputy Stallings, they can't take this money away right now, can they? Oh, they could just sweep it right now? Just
it's where it doesn't look good to just say, we've got a better idea.
no, but I do hope that they appreciate that we would rather pay more money inside our system than consultants. We'd like to max right now. You did say something, Director Thronson, about maybe perhaps some input from board members. Is that something that that would be helpful to you? Okay. Yeah. I don't think we all know what we're looking for. We're just looking for a big bang. I think with the letters money, it was money very well spent and very targeted. And this feels like it's $4 million slipping through our fingers that we might be able to do a little bit more than pay a consultant to come and tell us things that we really need more. I mean, I think, is that a fair statement? Okay. So I encourage board members to reach out. If you'd like us to coordinate that through leadership to get a few people to work with, we would be more than happy to do that. Yeah, if you're interested, board members, in working on that project, let us know so that we can pick a few of you that have time and interest in that. Member Wood.
So I know much of SB 127 was based off work that was done in Mississippi. And I guess if we postpone and bring this back, what I'd love to see is some data and evidence behind if this was a piece of the Mississippi plan. I'd love to see what they did there and the evidence that, yes, this training, changed families. Because I know that was a very successful, that their proficiency rates skyrocketed because of this. And I think most of what we've put in there was just replicating what they've done. So I'd love to see that evidence come back.
And they might have the program.
Okay, so we have a substitute motion on the table. Is there any more comments? Seeing no more comments, we're going to move to a voice vote. You ready? Member Bogus,
Yes.
Member Booth,
Yes.
Member Klein. This is the substitute motion. Member Klein,
Yeah, yes.
Vice Chair Earl,
Yes.
Member Green, Member Green, are you with us? Member Davis,
Yes.
Member Hymas,
No.
Member Carey,
Yes.
Member Lear,
Yes.
Member Norton,
Yes.
Member Reel, Member Straight,
Yes.
Member Wood,
Yes.
Chair Moss,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hart is a yes. "12 yeses, 1 no, 2 absent. That motion passes. Number 9 has been pulled. We already did. Number 9 has been pulled.
Would it be possible, since Member Davis had some interest in this and some of the information, if we could go to something else, is that too awkward or too?
I think she's on.
I'm on.
She voted.
Oh, are you all right to talk about this, Cindy?
I just have some questions about it.
Okay, good. That's great then. That's good.
Okay, member,
Start.
would, who can speak to this?
It's Jennifer and
It's
Quinn.
It's the statewide online education program authorized online course
It is
provider.
statewide online. I should have known because there's Miss Corey. Welcome. There's 3 of you, so bear with me because that's what, we can only have 2 mics on, so takes a minute. Member Lear, did you have some questions to start out, or we can go to Member Davis? Okay. Okay.
There we go. We need
Which one of you would like to give a brief? Okay, you would be
set the
2.
scene.
Will you hit your and go for it? To introduce yourself, please, Quinn.
Good evening, members of the board, Madam Chair. My name is Quinn Kellis. I'm a coordinator in the teaching and learning section. And one of my responsibilities is the lead administrator for the state online education program. You have before you this evening an agenda item for approval of 2 online providers. Just for a little bit of information about online providers, there's 2 types of providers. There's your regular provider, which is typically hosted by an LEA. We have 5 or 6 of those in Utah. And then there's another type of provider, which is called a certified online provider. And they are not sponsored by an LEA. They are technically sponsored by the state board. We have one of those, and that is Arizona State University. So these are the different types of providers. Before you, there are 2 requests, 2 applications, one for the regular online provider status, and the other is for a certified online provider. Again, that certified online provider would not be hosted by a regular LEA. They would be hosted by the state board. Does that give a good introduction?
So my questions are various. There are 2 statutes that apply. You didn't talk much about that, but that's okay. There's 2 sections in the code, 53F4, 514 and 504, and it talks about an application and it talks about some requirements. And um, as I was reading this and talked a little bit to you, Quinn, I was left wondering if you could tell us your comfort level, and of course beyond that in a more business sense, but uh, uh, tell us more about this AIOA, or the certified online provider that would then be expected to perform just like Davis Connect would. Davis Connect has been working for 30, 40 years serving online students, and it has a very solid track record, and it makes sense to turn students over to Davis Connect and some of the other providers. But this one is, we don't know as much. So help us understand if you think it's adequate and if it meets the standards that the law requires.
Madam Chair, may I respond? Member Lear, thank you for that opportunity. To your point, the Davis School District has submitted an application, and there's high level of confidence with the structures that they currently have in place to be able to offer online courses through an SOEP provider model. The AIOA entity, just a little bit of information about them. They are an LLC out of Wyoming. They currently offer some online programs in Utah and throughout the country. As an LLC in Wyoming specifically, they have certain protections that don't allow the transparency for us to be able to identify as much information as an LLC in 47 other states. There's 3 states that have that same level of privacy. So there's some, you asked about comfort level. There may be some discomfort about not having the ability to dive into a potential provider's capacity to provide when we can't see the specific details about the LLC's structure. We know that this LLC was filed under a membership supported LLC versus I'm trying to remember the word for it. There's membership, there's single member, and then there's like a corporation where you have a board. From what we can tell, this LLC does not have a board. The problem with that, while it might be in Utah legal to meet the requirements for a certified online provider, there's other requirements in code and in rule that require a board's decision. For example, it could be approving curriculum. It could be responding to an appeal about sensitive information, sensitive material. There are things that are required in statute that boards of an LEA have to do. So as a for-profit entity, they don't have the board that any other LEA in Utah would have. So that would create some complications for them to be able to comply, in our opinion, with some of those statutory requirements.
Let me raise one more concern that was probably my primary concern, and then I think Member Davis had a different one. But I was concerned what assurance we have with this kind of an LLC, which again, we don't have complete transparency and opportunity to look into. I was concerned about some of the data privacy, student data issues, and their literal ability, not just willingness, but their literal ability to protect student data. And they could have hundreds, thousands of students enrolled there, and until and unless we knew that they had the capacity to protect the student data, that made me uncomfortable.
Madam Chair, may I respond? Thank you, Member Lear. Yes, that is any SOEP provider must if not in statute, in just a moral contract with their parents and the students, protect the privacy of the students. That means they would have to have all the technology infrastructure to be able to do that. And again, just like any other LEA in the state, not knowing what infrastructure that they have, they are unable to, at this point, provide those assurances.
Okay. Those were my immediate initial questions, and I may have more if Cindy, depending what she raises.
Member Davis, did you have some additional questions?
I do, thank you. You know, I guess this stems to the level of confidence as well. You know, when we start a new school, a new charter school, we have this kind of rigorous application process that they go through so we can ensure that students will be receiving relative quality. And it's really hard with this vendor. And we are essentially LEAizing this LLC that will be working with our students. We don't know much. I looked up their, I think there was an inception of 2009, but not really a board, and a list of courses that are offered, but you know, to the extent of credentials of the educators, I wasn't sure. But really, I'd like to know what historically has been the enrollment, what historically has been the completion rate, what has been the attrition rate. Do we, you know, have some reviews of folks that have any experience? We're essentially, this will be a school for our Utah students. So I would just prefer not to move forward with this one. And I know there are some privacy issues with Wyoming, but if they want to be considered, maybe they themselves want to bring forward a bunch of information that would help us, similar to when ASU was in this similar boat. And this carve out legally kind of was made especially because of a situation with ASU, and we did have an LEA that was using ASU, but a lot of public information readily available. So these are my questions. I'm not ready to move forward on the contract. I would not support a motion to approve it at this time. This one.
Can I have a question. This was on the consent calendar. So I guess I don't know how else to ask, but did you think that you had to, or what made you feel comfortable with this? Did you want to just put the ball in our court kind of thing, or did you feel like it was something that you needed to, or do you feel comfortable as SOEP program administrators? Could you maybe speak to that once I give you the ability to?
Hit your button again.
Thank you. Jennifer Johnson, Director of Teaching and Learning. Staff was directed by me to put this on the consent calendar. As per board rule, the board is the determining body as to whether these applications are approved or not. So you are welcome to divide this and say yay and nay, or whatever you decide, but ultimately you have the authority of accepting or denying the applications.
Thank you. I wanted, if you felt comfortable with it, that changes things a little bit for me, but is there someone that would like to make a motion, Member Lear? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've been waiting to speak.
I am
so-
sorry, Joe. You have, and you're hot.
Well, thank you. A lot of people would disagree with that, including myself. But so I guess, yeah, and Vice Chair Hart really summed it up. I was having the same question because it said that the recommended action is the board approves, but what I'm hearing is that not so much. So with that, where is ASU in all this? Is my understanding that they were our big provider? Did they not apply? Were they disqualified? What happened? I expected to see them on this list somewhere, and I don't. So somebody walk me through what happened.
Madam Vice Chair, may I respond? Um, Thank you for that question. We have intact several providers that have already been approved and are continuing. These are two new applications to be added to the current list of providers. And while these two new applicants check all the right boxes that are required to be considered for approval, the boxes don't tell the whole story. And for that reason, they were presented because they were able to check all the right boxes for approval, but the discussion is appropriate because the state board is the host of these certified online providers, ASU being one of them currently, and this being our only next applicant. For this reason, it's an important conversation.
Thank you. So there were some apparently AIOA checked the right boxes, but there were some concerns. Are there any concerns or reservations about Davis Connect that you haven't voiced or shared with the board?
Madam Vice Chair, may I respond? There are none. As was mentioned earlier, Davis School District has every structure in place as a state LEA. They are fully transparent. We can identify all the information that we need to address any concerns that may have come up. And just as also another point of information, if they were both approved or if one were approved, neither would be able to start this month. I apologize. Davis can because they are already an LEA, but to create a new LEA in the state, it takes 1 year of going through all the USBE technical processes so that they are prepared within a year. But for that reason, Davis is not a concern.
I have one final question, Vice Chair. Any reason in your mind why this board should not approve Davis Connect today and send AIOA back for additional consideration?
Vice Chair, may I respond? There is no concern, no.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
I have a question and I'd like to make a motion.
Go for it.
My question is, you've mentioned several times that there are, questions that or information we will not get from AIOA. Can you give us some examples of the type of information you would like to receive that you would not be able to receive? Maybe top 3 or in a prioritized.
May I respond? Thank you. Some of the questions have already been raised. For example, student success rate, the attendance rate, the completion rate, the participation success. These are all questions that we require of our current providers. Those are important things when we put our children, when we present a program that would be available to the children of Utah that their parents should be able to have access to before they put their children in the hands of this LEA.
I'd like to move.
Actually, Member Lear was ready to make a motion, so.
And I had one more comment before I make the motion, but in looking through these statutes and looking a little bit at R277726, the rule for SOEP, I was hoping that maybe what also can happen is that you folks might work on, and because we do have the authority, the board has the authority to make rules regarding this. So if there are some issues that we could put in rule that would then help us the next time this comes up, it would have been much easier to look at the rule and say, hey, you can't tell us about this, then you're out of luck. You can't tell us about, you don't have a SIS system that we can verify, we can't accept you. So it would be really helpful if we had a rule checklist for the next time. and we've got a year, it sounds like, on some of these. So with that, I'll make the motion that the board accepts Davis Connect as a certified provider, authorized provider, and works to understand, get more information about AIOA, and perhaps considers it at a later date.
Would you like to refer that to a committee after that?
I will leave that to leadership to
Okay.
refer to a committee as necessary.
Okay. Is someone typing in that motion?
Oh, well,
Okay.
just to
To accept
Davis Connect.
Davis Connect as a
For AIOA for more
information
investigation and information.
and information. And the second was made by Member Wood. Yeah, they're typing it in. Member Lear, is that what you envisioned?
The only word I'd add is for possible future board review and consideration. Just possible before future, so that if their information gathering is really bad, we don't have to have this wonderful time spent.
Yeah. So the motion on the floor is that the board approve Davis Connect to serve as a certified online course provider.
Authorized. It's authorized, not certified.
That's right. Authorized online course provider under the authority of the statewide online education program, and to direct staff to work with American Innovative Online Academy, AIOA, to refine AIOA's application for possible future board review and consideration. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there going to be an objection?
I just have
Okay.
a question.
Okay, question to the motion.
Was part of her motion, or is it friendly to add the piece that she asked for staff to look at, looking at pieces of information for board rule that will be helpful in future queries?
I thought we could just ask.
Yeah,
staff to
can we
do
just
that.
ask you to do that? Okay. Fantastic. We're going, Member Davis, if you didn't hear that, they have taken that guidance already. I mean, they're going to do it.
They will.
They will. So we are going to have a voice vote. We are going to start at the bottom. Ready? Member Wood?
Yes.
Member Straight?
Yes.
Member Reel? Member Norton?
Yes.
Member Lear?
Yes.
Member Hymas?
No.
Member Carey?
Yes.
Member Green? Member Earl? Vice Chair Earl?
Yes.
Member Davis?
Yes.
Member Klein?
No.
Member Bogus?
No.
Member Hart is a yes.
Booth.
And
a
I,
yes.
and thank you very much. Saving the best for last. All right, so, yes, but what is the vote? I gotta,
Yes.
Chair Moss is a yes. 10 yeses, 3 noes, and 2 absent, and so that motion passes and it's dinner time. Will you please grab your food and then come right back? Thank you for staying late. Thank you.